Chapter 7 Between Worlds 30:25. The morning sun peeked through the curtain's soft golden light, warming our skin. After the night's cosmic dreams, waking up felt like returning from a deep underwater world. We pulled ourselves out of bed slowly, our limbs still buzzing with traces of high-frequency energy. Our bodies were heavy, but our spirits felt lighter, as if something unseen had been lifted. "All right," I muttered with a tired grin. "Round 2. Allison smirked, hair messy but beautiful. "Coffee first, then we conquer the galaxy." Mugs in hand, we took a moment to ground ourselves. Yes, even with all the interdimensional travel and crystalline medbeds, coffee still hits the spot. It anchored us to this earth body, if only for a moment. The aroma was strangely comforting, a small ritual that reminded us of home. I reached for my wrist and gently tapped the small olive green band embedded there. Instantly, the air before us began to shimmer, and familiar hum of portal sang through the room like the sound of a distant wind chime. Colours swirled, violets, sapphire, golds, like liquid starlight, folding in on itself. The gateway pulsed with living energy. We stepped out of the portal, and just like that, we were back. The soft grass welcomed our feet. The light was golden and warm, and there, standing like a serene goddess of wisdom and sass, was Harmony. She smiled at us like a proud older sister about to throw us into a cosmic boot camp. "Ready for another big day?" She beamed. "By the end of this, you two are going to be superheroes." Allison and I exchanged a look, a raised eyebrow. "Do we get capes?" I asked. "Yeah," Allison chimed in, eyes twinkling. "Because I want to design mine with sequins, obviously, and glitter, cosmic glitter." Then she started laughing so hard she nearly toppled over onto the grass. I grabbed her arm to keep her upright, laughing with her. The tension of upcoming session cracked a little. "Humour, our secret weapon." Harmony chuckled. "Sure, why not? Superhero costumes are absolutely allowed." "You've earned the sparkle." With that, she turned and motioned for us to follow. "All right, Sparkle Squad. Back to the healing temple. Time to get that energy body tuned up." We fell into step behind her, still giggling like kids sneaking into a theme park. As we walked, Allison leaned in and whispered, "If I turn into a superhero and I don't get to fly or shoot lasers, I want a refund." I whispered back, "I just want one of these medieval slow motion energy powers where everything glows and people start crying for no reason." Allison snorted. "Typical." The laughter softened as we approached the temple again. It loomed ahead, glowing with soft, iridescent light. But something was different. The geometry of the structure seemed to shift slightly, like it was breathing. The walls pulsed with colour, more vibrant, more alive than before. I paused, eyebrows lifted. "Hey, Harmony, this place looks different today." She smiled knowingly over her shoulder. "That's because you're different. Every shift you go through reflects back into this space. The temple responds to your energy, your progress." I looked around, still in awe. "Man, I'm never going to get used to this." "You're not supposed to," she said, winking. "That's the point." The doors of the temple opened silently as we stepped inside. The air shimmered with anticipation. "All right," Harmony said, her tone bright. "Time to become a little more superhero." Allison nudged me. "You ready for another cosmic tune-up?" I took a breath and nodded. "Let's go glow up." Harmony turned to Allison with a sparkle in her eye. "All right, gorgeous. Let's get you massaged up and fully tuned. You've got some serious light codes waiting to unlock. Allison grinned, threw me a wink, and was already halfway across the grass before I could say anything. See you on the other side, superhero, she called out, disappearing into the temple corridor with Harmony. Before I had time to even breathe, Nia and Emira were suddenly standing right by my side. I blinked. Wow, okay, you are very stealthy. They both smiled in perfect synchronicity, warm and grounded. Hello, Jayson. They greeted me in the soft, vibrant tones. How are you feeling today? I paused, searching my body, honestly apprehensive, but excited too. I said truthfully, I'm really hoping this will be a pain-free experience, physically and emotionally. All of it. I'm tired. You're in good hands, Nia assured me gently, her voice like silken sunlight. Emira nodded. All parts of you are seen and honoured here. The release may feel deep, but it is safe. Then came that moment. Nia looked at me calmly. Now please remove all your clothing and lie on the table. I raised an eyebrow. Even my underwear? They both smiled with a calm that made me feel like a toddler throwing a tantrum about brushing my teeth. Yes, Emira said. We've seen all forms of beings from across the galaxies. Trust us, there's no judgment here. I just stared at them, frozen in awkward silence, wearing a face that could only be described as utterly bamboozled. Somewhere between horror and I need a hug. With a resigned sigh, I stripped down and climbed onto the healing table. Face first, my body already groaning like an old man at the end of a 12-hour shift. My back ached, my shoulders burned, and my spirit felt like it had been dragged across too many lifetimes without a proper nap. Lying there, I muttered into the pillow, man, this human experience is no joke. Feels like I've been in a non-stop battle just to keep my heart open. The air changed. I felt it. Warm, safe, sacred. Nia and Mara began moving silently around the table, preparing oils and energy tools. There was no small talk now, just the quiet hum of the room responding to their presence. I felt like I was in the hands of cosmic surgeons who had done this 1,000 times across thousands of dimensions. Then Imara placed her hands just above my neck. I could feel the heat radiating already. Let us begin, she whispered. And so it did. The healer's hands pressed gently into my back, soft yet powerful, like waves rolling from another world. There was something ancient in their touch, something beyond language or technique. It was like they were reading my soul through my skin. I exhaled as the other healer hovered just above my body, working the energetic layers. My breath caught in my throat as I felt the movement, like something deep inside me had been waiting for centuries to be found. Old memories, long and buried, began to rise like ghosts called by sacred invitations. I saw flashes, a battlefield under a twin sun, my armor cracked and soaked with sweat and blood, a woman's face, someone I had loved across time, lifetimes. Her eyes filled with both passion and pain, a city made of crystal towers crumbling under the weight of the galactic invasion. As their hands moved along my spine, it felt like lifetimes were being unwound. The muscle tension wasn't just physical, it was karmic, threaded through with soul contracts, betrayals, victories, and vows that I didn't even remember making. Breathe, Jayson, one of the healers whispered gently, her voice soothing the storm. Let it all go. I did. Tears began to stream silently down my cheeks as I felt myself releasing the pain of betrayals. They weren't even from this planet. Memories of leading rebel factions against corrupt overlords in forgotten galaxies. fighting not for glory, but for freedom. One scene gripped my chest so tightly I couldn't breathe. I saw myself kneeling beside a fallen brother, not by blood, but by bond. After he had been ambushed, I was holding him, promising he would be remembered, even as the sky above us burned. The healer's hands moved in a spiral pattern over my heart. I gasped. Something deep cracked open, not physically, but energetically, like a wall I didn't even know I had suddenly dropped. Then came warmth, deep liquid light pouring into me like honey from the stars. It soothed every torn fibre of my being. The grief didn't disappear, but it was seen, held, honoured. You were never alone, one healer whispered, even in the hardest moments, especially then. I let out a shuddering breath. This wasn't just a massage. It was soul surgery, a recalibration, a remembrance. I felt myself floating, not just out of my body, but through time, through galaxies, through versions of myself I'd forgotten. And in that space, I knew something was changing, something permanent. Meanwhile, in another chamber of the healing temple, Allison was lying on her own massage table, eyes half open, staring at the crystalline ceiling above her. The whole room shimmered like it was alive, breathing in sync with her. Harmony stood nearby with another healer, gently placing sacred oils onto Allison's body. The oils glowed faintly as they touched her skin like liquid stardust. Allison raised an eyebrow. "Is that glowing?" she asked, half laughing, half unsure whether to be impressed or concerned. Harmony smiled. "Made from the nectar of sunflowers found only on the 7th moon of Valarius. Very good for emotional release." Allison laughed. "Of course it is." The healer placed their hands on Allison's shoulders, and instantly she felt the surge, like 1,000 tingling sensations rushing through her veins. Not painful, but intense, like her whole body had just been plugged into the frequency of the universe. Then it began. Her mind drifted, her body stilled. Suddenly she was somewhere else entirely. A childhood memory surfaced. She was 5 years old again, hiding under the kitchen table while her parents argued. Above her, she could feel the tightness in her chest, the confusion, the loneliness. But this time, someone sat beside her, a version of herself, older, wiser. She held the child, Allison's hand, and whispered, "You're not broken. You never were." Tears ran down Allison's real-world face. Another wave of healing moved through her. This time it wasn't her childhood, but a memory from another world, another life. She stood in a temple made of vines and moonlight, dressed in ceremonial robes, her hands covered in paint and ash. She was a healer in that life too, but she had lost someone dear during a planetary cleansing. The grief had been stored in her bones. Now, as Harmony and the healer worked on her, that old ache dissolved like mist in the sun. Allison let out a long breath. "Wow," she whispered, her voice barely there. "That was unexpected." Harmony gently placed a hand over Allison's heart. "You're not just healing this life, but all the echoes of you across time." Allison's lips curled into a soft, amazed smile. Then came laughter, real, pure from deep inside her belly. She didn't even know why she was laughing, but it felt like lifetimes of heaviness were lifted. The healer raised an eyebrow. "You're processing well." Allison nodded. "I feel like I'm being reset, like some kind of galactic iPhone." Harmony giggled. "With way better upgrades. Do I get a new ringtone?" They all burst out laughing. But beneath the humour, something deep had shifted. The weight she carried wasn't gone, but it was no longer hers to hold alone, and she could feel it, the sense of becoming more of herself. And for the first time in what felt like ages, Allison felt light. Back in the other chamber, I could feel it, something deep inside me cracking open like the shell of an old world. The two healers were still working on me, their hands moving in perfect rhythm, one pressing into the layers of memory buried in my muscles, the other pulling something unseen from the space around me. It was like they were speaking a silent language my soul remembered, even if my mind couldn't translate it. My body felt both heavy and light, like gravity was loosening its grip, like I was dissolving into stardust and breath. Then came the visions again. I saw myself standing on a battlefield, sword in hand, drenched in sweat and blood of war. I didn't start, but had to finish. Around me were beings of light, wounded, weary, but still fighting. I remembered that war. I remembered the betrayal. I remember the vow I made to never let it happen again. A tear slipped down my cheek. I remembered, I whispered. One of the healers leaned close. "You are remembering because it is time to release. You no longer need to carry the echoes of the battles long gone." Then I saw her, Allison, in one of those lifetimes, by my side. We weren't partners, not romantically. We were comrades, soul allies, warriors for truth. Even back then, she had that same fire in her eyes, that same heart. And then it all began to fade. The battlefield, the pain, the sorrow, all of it being gently pulled out of me, strand by strand, like tangled thread being unwound. I let out a long breath, my tired body surrendering into the healing bed. "Wow," I said softly, barely able to speak. "That was necessary," the healer finished for me. I chuckled, eyes still closed. "Yeah, that." They placed their hands on my back, one last time, sealing in golden energy. I felt like a warmth, like forgiveness, like freedom. And just like that, I was done. The two healers stepped back. "You may get dressed now," one said with a soft smile. "But take your time, your energy body is still adjusting." I slowly sat up, still dazed, still floating in a sea of light. My limbs felt like they belonged to a new version of me, carrying lifetimes of pain in my spine. As I pulled my clothes back on, I caught my reflection in a small crystalline panel on the wall. My eyes looked different, softer, clearer, like someone had wiped the fog off the mirror of my soul. I walked out into the soft sunlight of the temple garden, taking each step slowly, savouring the sensation of being alive, really alive. Then I saw her. Allison was sitting on a stone bench, her face glowing, her eyes sparkling with the same positive healing days I knew I must have been wearing too. She looked at me, grinned and mentioned and mouthed the words, "Galactic iPhone upgrade." I burst out laughing. Yeah, we were different now, changed, lighter, stronger. The healing wasn't just a session, it was a remembrance, a reset, a return to something we had both forgotten. And somehow I knew this was just the beginning. We sat together on a carved stone bench under the healing temple tree canopy. Soft beams of golden light filtered through the leaves, and the air buzzed with a frequency I could feel in my bones. Still barefoot, I wiggled my toes in the moss and looked over at Allison, who hadn't said a word yet. which for her was saying a lot. She turned to me with a soft smile, eyes half closed, like she was still half in another realm. "Well?" I asked. She let out a breath that sounded like it had been held for several lifetimes. "I cried," she said, eyes welling again, but like good crying. "Soul crying?" I nodded. "Same. Mine was a whole movie montage. I think I saw 4 past lives and at least 3 galactic wars." We both laughed quietly, the kind of laugh that only comes after you have seen something too big to explain. Allison leaned her head on my shoulder. "They showed me my origin body," she whispered. "Not the human one, my real one. It was crystalline light, like I was made of music." Goosebumps prickled my arms. "I think we both were," I said. "Maybe that's what this whole thing is. Remembering." She looked up at me and her voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you think we'll choose this life?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, but we forgot. Why? Until now." Before either of us could say more, we heard soft footsteps behind us. Harmony had returned, but not alone. She walked barefoot across the mossy path, dressed in a flowing iridescent robe that shimmered like oil in sunlight. Her presence was calm, but beneath it pulsed something urgent, like a shift was coming. Behind her stood a being neither of us had seen before, tall with pale blue skin and eyes like galaxies. Harmony smiled. "Feeling better? Lighter?" Allison said, "Like I left behind 10 tons of soul baggage." "Good," Harmony said, pleased, because now it's time. "Time for what?" I asked cautiously. Harmony gestured to the being beside her. "This is Auralen. He's one of the gatekeepers, a guardian of timelines. He's here to show you something important." Allison and I looked at each other again. Her eyebrow shot up. "Wait, like future timelines?" "Potential timelines," Auralen corrected, his voice calm and resonant, like it echoed across dimensions. "This is something approaching, a convergence. You both must see what is at stake and what is possible." I swallowed. "Is this about Earth?" Harmony nodded. "It's about everything. Earth, you, the others, like you waking up right now. This isn't just healing anymore, Jayson. This is mission prep." I felt my stomach flip, but I didn't look away, neither did Allison. "Okay," she said, "let's see it." Harmony stepped aside and Auralen raised his hand. A small orb of pure light hovered between us, swirling with colours we didn't have names for. As we watched, it expanded, not just in size, but in presence. It surrounded us, pulling us into the centre. There was no time to prepare, no way to anchor, and then, flash. The world unfolded before us. Not just one version of Earth, but multiple. We saw futures where cities floated in the sky, where oceans shimmered with intelligent life, but we also saw other timelines, ones filled with smoke, control, and silence. A split, a fork in the road. Auralen's voice echoed through the vision. "Humanity is standing at the edge of its own becoming. Your choices will ripple through the generations, through galaxies." I felt Allison reach for my hand, and I squeezed it tightly. We weren't just watching this, we were part of it. Then it was over. The orb collapsed back into a point of light and vanished. We were back in the garden. Everything felt changed. Even the air. Harmony stepped closer. "There is more to your healing than clearing the past. You're here to remember the future, to choose it." A moment of silence paused between us both. "So," I said, still catching my breath, "no pressure, right?" Allison laughed nervously. "Guess we're not just tourists in time anymore." Harmony smiled. "No, you're architects. Seeing continuation, understanding the mission." It felt sacred, older than the rest of the temple. A single beam of crystalline light poured down from above, illuminating a sphere floating mid-air, rotating slowly like a miniature planet. Harmony stood beside her, her hands gently weaving energy around the sphere. Auralen gestured for them to sit on the cushioned benches surrounding the circle. "This," Auralen said gently, "is the memory sphere. It stores echoes of all who have walked this path before. Healers, protectors, star guides, and visionaries. You too have been chosen to reawaken what has been buried, not just in yourselves, but in the human collective." I and Allison looked at each other. The weight of that statement landed heavy, like a key turning in an ancient lock inside their souls. Harmony continued, her voice like silk and lightning. "Your mission, though it will seem at times personal and chaotic, is universal. You're not just here to heal yourselves, but to act as conduits. You are remembering, yes, but also anchoring a new frequency on Earth, one that breaks the grid of suffering and awakens the crystalline path beneath the ruins." Allison blinked. "You make it sound epic, but what does that actually mean? What do we do?" Auralen stepped forward and touched the sphere. Immediately it expanded, showing flickering images, moments from their lives, past and future, and others not fully there, but somehow connected. "You will be sent into soul zones, realms between realities, where human trauma, forgotten memory, and galactic interference have created blocks. Your journey there, sometimes in dreams, sometimes in waking life, and with your love, with your resonance, you will start to shift the grids." I swallowed. "So this isn't just a personal healing trip?" Harmony smiled. "No, Jayson, it never was. You were encoded before birth. That's why your path has been so intense. You're being prepped through fire. This is why the battles never made sense in your life, your human life. They were fragments of your galactic timelines bleeding through." Allison looked at the swirling energy. "But why us? There must be others more advanced, more trained." "Because you still feel," Auralen replied softly. "You're not jaded. You still choose love after everything. That's what makes you powerful. Not perfection, presence." I nodded slowly, heart pounding. Something inside me, something ancient, knew this was right. Harmony extended her hand. "There is more to show you, but first, are you ready to see the origin of your connection, where it truly began, beyond Earth, beyond the flesh?" Allison looked at me, her voice barely a whisper. "I think we have to." I reached for her hand. "Let's remember everything." Harmony extended her hand. "You felt it all along, the ache, the pull, the knowing. Are you ready to see what your connection truly began? Before the stories, before the lifetimes, in the place where love first took shape, the cosmic memory doorway." I glanced at Allison. Her eyes shimmered, not just with tears, but with recognition neither could explain. I reached out and took Harmony's hand, and Allison's followed. Harmony's fingers were warm but radiant, almost humming with energy. The world around us began to dissolve, not vanish, but expand, like mist rising to reveal something ancient behind it. The healing room softened into light, and then light stretched into galaxies. Stars emerged all around us, golden and blue and violet, pulsing with ancient memory. We weren't standing anymore. We were floating, orbiting a massive crystalline temple that hovered in the middle of the starlit nebula. The structure looked alive, made of living glass, its geometry constantly shifting, and at the heart of it, a radiant orb pulsed in time with our breath. Harmony speaks from within our minds. This is the hall of origin. Very few are ever brought here, but you carry the code of the return. Allison's voice trembled. What is this place? You call it home before Earth was even born, Harmony replied. This is where your souls were fused. Suddenly a powerful light swept through us both, not blinding but soft, like a memory you forgot you missed. Images began to flicker in the space around us, more vivid than dreams, more real than memory. A planet with twin suns, golden grass fields, and beings of light, walking in harmony. A moment of ceremony, two beings, me and Allison in another form, hands clasped like merging between them, watched by thousands of peaceful, star-born beings. A war, a betrayal, a fracturing, two souls separate across galaxies to carry their own shared mission of fragmented worlds. Lifetimes passing, Earth lives, pain, love, loss, reunion. Allison wept. We've been doing this forever. I felt a weight lift from my chest. The ache I always felt, like something was missing, made sense now. It was the memory of her, of this, of all of it. Harmony gently placed a hand on our backs. You have remembered enough for now, but know this, your union was not chance. It was a beacon. The mission continues. The world needs what you both carry. The cosmic temple faded as gently as it had appeared, dissolving into the warmth of the healing space once more. We sat in silence, breath synchronizing. Words weren't needed. Everything had changed. Finally, Allison whispered, "What happens next?" Harmony smiled. "Now you begin the real work, the mission of light, and it starts with the crystal key buried within your own DNA. To be continued."